The site posted a shocking story earlier this month about a married media executive who's related to a former Obama administration official. And it talked about how he was allegedly attempting to hire a gay escort. The escort apparently blackmailed him. Now, this whole story, it went online, and the negative feedback was immediate and overwhelming, with critics using terms like vile and repugnant to describe the story. And as you can tell, we're not naming the person. We're not even going to show you the blog post. It's just not appropriate. But you can see here some of the reaction to it. The next day, Gawker founder Nick Denton chose to pull the post, delete it, over the strong objections of the entire editorial staff. So this week, his two top editors resigned. And more writers might jump ship in the coming days. This blog post went up on a Thursday night. Did you read it ahead of time?
No,
Did you know about it?
I did know about it. I knew that the team at Gawker and Tommy Craggs were working on a story.
How could you have not insisted on reading it before it was published on your website?
I have to say I expected that they would take more time and that it would actually only go up sometime on the Friday. I was surprised.
So you thought you'd have time to read it? You thought you'd be involved?
I thought there would be more time for the editorial team to discuss it before moving forward with the story. I didn't see the point of the story as it was described to me. I made that clear. And when I saw the story later on, it was very, very clear, not just from the universal reaction, which was condemnation from our peers,
right,
but anybody with any kind of humanity could see that this was not a story that was worth doing.
So you decided to take it down. There were reports there was a vote among your business leaders and that most of them supported you. Why was it put up to a vote?
This was my decision. I ordered the post taken down. I'm the founder.
So it wasn't a vote?
The colleagues, my executives, supported me in my decision, but it was my decision. I am the founder of the company. I was the editor of Gawker.com. I am the guardian of the editorial ethos of the company. This was counter to what I want us to be doing, and therefore I had it taken down.
But Gawker sort of has this reputation as being a place where anything goes. If it's true, you publish it. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Here's actually part of the interview about Hulk Hogan. Knowing what you know now, knowing all of the legal costs already, would you have still published the video?
I am glad that the decisions that are taken on publishing are taken at the time, and I'm glad that we only really look at whether the story is both true and interesting. This story was true and interesting, and we'd absolutely publish it again in a heartbeat.
This was a sex tape involving Hulk Hogan. Now he's suing, and we can get into the lawsuit. But what you said is, all we really look at is whether the story is both true and interesting. Is that still the rubric for Gawker, or is it more complicated now?
I think the difference between Tommy Craggs, the executive editor who resigned on principle over this matter, the difference between him and me is that for Tommy and for some of the more hardline editorial staff, truth itself is the only necessary defense, and the belief is that nothing should ever be taken down if it is true. As I said in that quote, I believe that it's necessary for something more than just simply truth to be operative in a story, and truth and the interest to our peers, interest to our audience is essential.
Would you out a private person again, the way this blog post did?
We would absolutely out a public figure. I've personally been involved in stories about Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple.
That was before he spoke publicly about being gay.
That's right, about 2 years before he spoke publicly about being gay. And stories about Anderson Cooper.
Again, before he spoke publicly about it. And so you're okay with that? You're okay with publishing those kinds of stories?
It's somebody who's a public figure who talks about their life, their personal life, who is interviewed by journalists. They don't get to say, to us at least, they don't get to say, oh, you can't ask questions about my personal life, you can't ask this particular question. A lot of the time journalists go along with the PR campaigns of celebrities. We don't, and we won't.